Yesterday evening at about 10:55 p.m. Windsor Police Service received a 911 call for a motor vehicle accident on EC Row Expressway. The accident occurred on EC Row westbound by the Jefferson area on the overpass. Our officers responded immediately and upon arrival observed a male victim. He's a 66-year-old male. He was laying in the roadway, and a citizen who had stopped after seeing the collision was rendering him assistance. He was doing chest compressions on this individual. EMS arrived a short time later. Our officers were there shortly before 11 o'clock p.m. and EMS made the determination that this victim had actually deceased because of the motor vehicle collision. So our officers on scene were gathering information from witnesses that were on scene. A 2006 Honda motorcycle was involved, as well as a 2007 Infiniti vehicle. Preliminary indications suggest that both vehicles were traveling westbound on EC Row Expressway, approaching the Jefferson overpass, when the Infiniti vehicle struck the motorcycle from behind in the curb lane, which threw the driver of the motorcycle off his vehicle, and he sustained his injuries, which ultimately caused his death. We are continuing with the investigation today. The driver of the Infiniti was identified by officers at the scene, and after speaking with the driver and gathering additional information, officers at the scene made an arrest. The individual is expected to appear in court this afternoon, and he's facing serious charges in relation to the collision, including dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death, as well as criminal negligence causing death. There is some preliminary evidence and indications that suggest that this male suspect, he's a 22-year-old male, may have been driving distracted. Of course, these are allegations at this time, and our investigators are continuing with their investigation. We want to advise the public and let them know that we are appreciative of their patience. Obviously, we understand that EC Row has been closed, remains closed at this time for some time. I know the accident happened, we closed it down as soon as we could, and we are continuing with the investigation. The reason that it's taken so long, what I can tell you, is that we required to bring in reconstruction specialists. These are trained specialists who specialize in fatalities involving collisions, and there's a lot of evidence that needs to be gathered at the scene. Of course, this accident we know happened close to 11 o'clock p.m. However, these officers really weren't able to commence the investigation until after sunrise this morning because of the lighting conditions. Accident investigation requires good lighting. We want to be able to look for little pieces of evidence such as skid marks, and sometimes in the dark it's not readily available. So we need the lighting conditions to be perfect, and the officers were out there, and they're out there today doing that. This is a fatality. This is considered to be a crime scene. So we have the area cordoned off, and these officers are diligently combing that crime scene to gather any piece of evidence they can. There's going to be some debris field as well. When we have a collision like this, we're looking for pieces of the debris, looking for the point of impact, and then determinations can be made that can suggest speed at the time of impact from combing and gathering evidence in a debris field. But it's imperative that these officers do a thorough job, obviously, and that's why it is very time consuming. They have to comb this area looking for pieces of debris. It's imperative that they do a thorough job, obviously, and they are doing that today. These again are trained specialists, and you know, when that roadway can be released, obviously it will be. We understand as a police service, EC Row Expressway is a major artery that connects Windsor to many municipalities and is used by our commuters, and it's a very important piece of our network in terms of roadways. So as soon as we can open that piece of roadway, we will have that open. But again, we want to thank the public for their patience and understand that we are dealing with a fatality. This is determined to be a crime scene, and we have to gather that information, gather that evidence, ensure that we document it properly and gather it properly as well. And that's what we're in the process of doing. So again, thank you for your patience, and as soon as we are satisfied that the investigation has been conducted thoroughly and that there's no additional evidence that can be rendered from that scene, it will be opened up to vehicular traffic, and we will do that as soon as we can.
at all that the suspect may be released in any way today?
Well, I know that it's anticipated that he will be making an appearance in court sometime this afternoon. Probably 2:30 is usually when the arraignments are heard. I don't know. I mean, this becomes a judicial process, so whether or not there will be a release is to be determined at this point. This is a person, obviously. He is in police custody and facing 2 serious charges. And of course, like any investigation, these are allegations at these times that we need to be able to gather the information we can to substantiate these charges in court. And that's what our investigators are out there doing today, working diligently to get the information and document it properly, and then conduct a thorough investigation to determine exactly what took place.
There was reports earlier that the driver of the Infiniti is from Tecumseh. Can you confirm that?
Yes, I believe that's correct. He is a Tecumseh resident, and the victim, the 66-year-old male victim, is an Amherstburg resident. That's correct.
Has next of kin been notified?
Next of kin of the victim have been notified. Yes, police have been in contact with next of kin. We liaised with Amherstburg Police as soon as we were able to gather his identification information, and I understand that a sergeant from the Amherstburg Police made the notification early this morning, letting them know about the fatality. Obviously, it's considered a death notification and a difficult task for police to do, honestly.
Releasing his name?
No, we're not. We're not authorized to release the name of the victim. Only the coroner will be able to do that.
The people who are at the scene right now, what's the title of the unit that's there?
Well, those are your accident reconstruction people. They're collision reconstruction people, actually, and they are trained specialists that's trained in accident reconstruction. And like I've indicated before, it's a time-taking endeavor, obviously, and they have to do measurements and looking for the debris field and beyond the debris field, because when we have an impact like this, when we're dealing with speed and impact, we're looking for pieces of debris from both vehicles, and with that information, using mathematics, they can determine a rate of speed, and that's what they'll be looking for, as well as skid marks, to see if either vehicle applied the brakes, if there's any shadow skids on that roadway. And that's why they couldn't really get into the investigation until daylight hours, because in the dark you just don't simply see that. You need perfect lighting conditions, and that's why we had to wait for daylight to get the investigation in terms of the expert reconstruction done, and that's what those officers are doing today.
So although it seems long, it's not unusual that it's taking this long, or there's not any...
whenever we have a fatal accident, we do call in construction specialists, and it is a time-taking process, and it does take hours. And unfortunately, this incident we're dealing with is Easy Road Expressway, of course, and we're dealing with traffic problems for rush hour this morning, obviously, and commuters. And we did the best we could to get that information out through social media. We shared it with our traditional media partners as well, and got that information to the community to let them know that the roadway was closed, both east and westbound closed, as this investigation continues.
Could the westbound lanes reopen, or eastbound lanes reopen before one another, or is it still too early to say?
It's too early to say at this point. I can assure you that as soon as those accident construction specialists are satisfied that that can happen, then it will happen. And we are making all efforts to ensure we can open that roadway as soon as we can. But what is more important to us, obviously, is gathering that essential evidence, documenting that crime scene, and ensuring that we're not missing anything. So we have to be very thorough, and that's what these officers are doing out there today.
So obviously it's still under investigation. I know you can't get into all the details, but you mentioned distracted driving. Could that be cell phone use? Can you share anything, elaborate on that?
Yeah, the only information I can share at this point in terms of the distracted driving is that that's where the criminal negligence charge comes into play, and we do have some evidence to suggest that this driver may have been driving distracted. Of course, we need to do some more investigating in terms of that, and I can tell you that we are in the process of doing that now, and as soon as we have additional information, we'll be able to share that with the community. But definitely we do have information that suggests that this 22-year-old driver may have been driving distracted, And I know as a police agency, we have shared that information and pounded that message into our community, and not only the Windsor Police services across the country, and definitely in the province of Ontario. And we want to remind people, a lot of people think that they have the ability to multitask. It's simply imperative that we pay attention to what we're doing when we're behind the wheel of a motor vehicle to avoid tragedy. And this is if this is indeed the case, if it is determined to be that, then definitely this is something that could have been avoided, and it is a needless tragedy, obviously, if this is the case. But we want to share that with the community. We want people to understand. We want parents to talk to their children, and anybody that's driving a car, be verbal about it. Talk to people. If your friends are texting while they're driving, tell them you're opposed to it. Let them know that you don't want to see that. We know that distracted driving has become one of the leading causes of tragedies on our roadways, including fatalities. And we want to put an end to that. Obviously, as a police agency, our number one mandate is keeping our communities safe, including our roadways safe for everybody to use. And it's simply something that we all need to address, and it's a responsibility for everybody who drives a motor vehicle. Parents especially, to communicate that message to your children, to ensure they understand the ramifications of what could possibly happen if in fact you're driving distracted. It's definitely not worth it.
You mentioned alcohol could be a factor as well. Was a roadside test performed at the scene?
It's still subject to investigation. There are some preliminary indications that alcohol may have been a factor.